Good morning from Panama. It's Marilyn's musings. Haven't done so for a little while. I've been kind of sort of focused and reflecting on things, watching what's happened from day to day in the headlines and how it all fits together and where we find ourselves right now. And there were also reports of the Schumann resonance, and that's the resonance or the vibration that is around this earth. And they have found in science that our brains register at that same frequency. And it's been doing great spikes. And of course, we have a very limited understanding about what that all has to do with anything. But it indeed does. As I go further into this little chat that I wanted to have, my musings, what that means, that we are part of an energy system, and that our human beingness and the suit we're in is affected by those resonance, because we really have limited understanding of what we are. So we're going to talk briefly. I'm just going to give a little rundown on mind control, because it certainly gets into the two subjects I'm going to talk about briefly. I'm going to write something up on these too. MAID in Canada, which is a big bone of contention with me. It's like I'm screaming from the rooftops. It's wrong. It's evil. It is all by a death cult. I follow Kelsey Sharin on Substack. She is a ex-Afghani vet, Canadian vet, very outspoken, criticizing this, and is right to the fucking point. I love her. She's a no bullshit girl, and head over to Substack, read her stuff, and get behind her. She needs our support because she's standing up for vulnerable people, and the vets are one of them. And then we're going to look at near-death experiences. And I think that it looks in really good with having people mind-controlled into MAID, and how our corporate system, this one, the technocratic corporate system, right, is profiting off of thinking that we're just a machine, when in actuality, near-death experiences, which there are more and more and more, because we can bring more and more people back, right, or they come back spontaneously, tells us that's not what we are, that this is just an avatar, a suit, something that is created for our consciousness to inhabit. So when we look at mind control, how easy humans, I'll just give you a brief little, right? Remember, if they can keep you in subconscious mind, right, you're far more suggestible. It is a survival mechanism that human beings have, right? To keep with the herd, to follow the most repetitive, what is being repeated in the culture, in the society, or where you are, or your tribe, and you will follow that, especially if you're frightened or have problems or are sick or are weakened, right? Maybe with the constant crisis that's out there in the fucking theater. So they have you there, they repeat it over and over again, right? Like, look at now in Canada, the US, and everywhere around the world. They're priming us for war. We're at war. What do you think that does in the human psyche? And the subconscious programs that are there. You're going to behave a certain way when war. You're going to get behind your country. That puts you into a suggestible state, because now you're in a group and a belief, and you're not going to be open to anything else, right? And then you're in fear, and then you know prices are going to go up, and prices have already gone up, and people are at their wits' end, right? And you have more and more people. Just another thing, 5 years, it's been 5 years since the big trigger pull to where we find ourselves right now, and why. And I'm gonna. The MAID is in Canada. I'm gonna focus on that and how they're using mind control, because it's a repetitive narrative of normalizing what it is and making it look like the herd is going along with that. That the tribe thinks that MAID and MAIDHouses to kill people in is the absolute top of compassion and virtue signaling and everything. We saw it with COVID. We know that that's what they do. That is a mind control tactic. And it works so effectively when people are in the fight or flight response, basically. When you're in fear, when you're upset from day to day, you don't know what's going to happen, you just want somebody to take control, you want somebody to tell you it's going to be okay. And so the herd will funnel itself in to whatever this authority figure says. And we have put people that are in the medical, this upper tier elite, we have given them our power. Actually, they've taken it by deceit. They really have. It's all by deception, because it's all done by mind control, right? That they can steer you and funnel you. And I have, you see, having worked in the system and know exactly how the system used to run, far cheaper and with humanness, because it actually was a public system. Then corporations decided, I want that, that's ours, and this technocratic fascism. Right? And they took it over. And I watched it being taken over. If you think that these people have one fucking ounce of compassion, think again. As I said, when they took over the place down in Toronto where I used to work, great organization, did really, really good work out on the street with the marginalized, the homeless, the people with developmental disabilities. Like, they had programs all over. It was the most wonderful, diverse. I just loved that job. It was the best job I ever had, working with the greatest people out, the people that had depression, the elderly, developmental disabilities, all the people these programs are killing, murdering in my country, using fucking mind control to kill them. Because Canada's captured, guys. You need to fight back at a roots level. We all do. Speaking out and saying, this isn't right, I don't like this. Come out of the fucking trance, because it could be you, right? So easy to mind control, yeah? We know since COVID, people that had a good lifestyle, they did. It was all on credit, but it was a good lifestyle because that's the government put you in a debt prison, right? And then pulled the wool out from under you. Why do you think the parks are all full of homeless people? People have lost everything, and they still are. And when when tariffs doesn't mean it's the war. Well, let's root against. Nuh-uh. It's your freaking governments. It's all of them. This is just more to collapse. This is a slow, controlled collapse of the economy and the theft of everything that you freaking own, and your soul and your life. So let's get on to, so Kelsey just did an article on MAIDHouse. So MAIDHouse, there's two of them, one in Toronto and a new one just opened in Victoria. So the one in Toronto, I think, has been open for 5 years now. So it's a private house, right, where they kill people. And of course, shiny fucking slick man, I went and said, oh, it sounds so fucking beautiful. Because you see, they've gutted the system. The system used to care for people, as I said before, in that job I had and what I saw happen at the hospital job I had, and how really it was to turn, it made those people that they are now, putting into MAIDHouses and other places, part of a sort of less desirable class. And that in a psychopath's mind, I guess they feel that they are easing suffering, even if they're murdering people. So I can see them all going along with this, not knowing that they're going, because it's an ideology that you're a machine. So it opened 5 years ago in Toronto. It is a non-profit, and I have some difficulty finding out. Many articles say it's a non-profit. Some say it's a registered charity. Now, I went online and looked on a government site. I couldn't find it. I used the business number, but I don't think that that's a charity number, right? So these places, do fundraising or whatever they do, right? And again, I can't find out which it is. If it's a corporate non-profit, remember, you can incorporate as a non-profit for tax reasons, right? And there's rules that you have to follow, which really aren't much rules. You can fucking do whatever you want. They're like the NGOs, right? And there's charities. It's the same with charities. Charities can rip people off. Charities, you can't. So I could find nothing that would substantiate what this MAID home. So it's capital M, capital A, small I, capital D, capital H house. And it's in Toronto. And they're sort of the person that runs it at the top, the gray lady, is Tekla. Tekla. Tekla Hendrickson. Very gray-looking person, actually. So she's at the sort of this top of this, board of directors and this and that, and the people that run it. And she's an administrator, basically, when you look at what I don't think she's ever had really any hands on. But, she's very interesting. She's got her little finger in the homelessness initiatives, marginalized women, disabled women. When you look at a lot of the people that are on the board of directors, it's either doctors or lawyers, communication experts that are on these boards, right? And really, since I've been in these kind of things, really, think not. Anybody can be funneling money into this. Anybody. It's a great money laundering and kill people. And I can't prove this. This is just for entertainment purposes and my musings. But I couldn't find anything. It looks like we've gotten to the point where in Canada, it is now okay to have these grottos, right? Basically places to kill people. And they're little blurb that they put in this, from the top, Ms. Hendrickson, is, their mandate, one of the things they really want to do is get those people that really don't have a place to die. She didn't come out and say homeless, but that's a way to say homeless without saying homeless. So that's who they're after. This, my friends, is what eugenics looks like. This is eugenics with a pretty fucking face on it. This is not care. It's got nothing to do with compassion. And it's basically preying on vulnerable people and killing them and making money off of them because they harvest the organs. That is dead on real. It is big business. And big business right now in Canada owns it. You are taught to believe that hospitals are everything. They're like a religious fucking temple. Right? And that sickness comes from outside you, that you are some kind of useless fucking human that needs all this technology and all this medication, blah, blah, blah. And when your time's up, like a rusty old fucking lawnmower, we'll put you out of your fucking misery. And we have no idea what that process is like. I've read some things that are not very encouraging about how that is to people. You're paralyzed. You are paralyzed and tranquilized. So if you were in distress, and if the consciousness was in distress, you would not be able to reach out to anybody. And does it sever your connection with spirit? I'm sure it fucking does. Because, this does. More and more evidence, and this is where we get into near-death experience. Right? So what I'm saying, this is evil. This is a death cult that is running in Canada, and it's in Ontario, in Toronto, and in Victoria, BC now. Right, and they're after the marginalized. This is 21st century, just like back in, when we're going to get rid of a class or a group of people. It's been going on forever. That's what transhumanism is, by the by. It's creating whatever these fucking lunatics are, what they believe is the perfect being. And having an emotions and have care and concern about a person is not something that they want you to do. They don't even believe you have it because they don't have it. So killing you and using you for biofuel doesn't bother them at all. And making a profit on it. Can you imagine what I just can't? It made me sick yesterday. Made me sick what they're doing. It makes me feel sick. Right? People want care and concern. I know because I worked with that group of people. I know exactly what was necessary. And at one time it was actually provided to some degree. And then it was all cut back to take us exactly where we are now. So, I don't want to go too long because I really could go on forever. That brings me into near-death experiences. And I've had a fascination with that forever, ever, things like that, because I believe in this other spheres and all the spheres that this is, come on, really, we should live in awe. We really should. Every day we should be in awe. What was it that Einstein said? There are only two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle, and then the other is that everything is. And he believed in the latter, and as do I. It's a miracle. We're a miracle. So, more and more, because we can bring more people back now, but it's been going on since the beginning of time and recorded history, that people would come back from death, right, and have a story to tell of where they were, how their consciousness opened up and what happened on that plane. And it can't be, now science is basically studying it. So this was on, can't remember the name of the show. I will link it though. Something to do with soul. Isn't that terrible? I can't remember the name of it, but he had a guest on. She was really, really good. I really liked her. That studied near-death experience. I probably have her name written down here somewhere. And she spoke of, and as I said, I'll link it. That'll bother me that I can't remember that. Too many things going on in my head. So she has done lots of research, like her whole career, in near-death experiences and written books on it and stuff like that. And as I said, I'll link it. But her work on near-death experience, there's just no way, because there's just no way you cannot believe what people say about where they were and what has happened, right? Which gets down to the fact that we are divine sparks of something. We are not these meat suits that need to be eliminated, right? Because they're costing the system money. Because they've actually written about how it saves money. And it's doubled in the last year, MAID. No, in the year before. I'm sure it's tripled now. It was 2022 to 2023, the numbers doubled. So if we're a conscious being, what does that do to us? And there's a whole ritual, because I've watched it when people die, of they're seeing the other side. They're going to the other side. There's a process. Just like there's a process of life, there's a process of us leaving this experience and this sense body and going somewhere else. And let me tell you, I believe that what they're doing in these MAIDHouses and in euthanizing people is actually cutting them off from spirit and keeping them trapped. And then causing more suffering, because these people have a conscious awareness of what is happening with them. You know, palliative care used to be really good. Palliative care was where people would go to be cared for. It was care. Now it is death. They're selling you death and making you believe that it's something good. And they're selling it under the guise of compassion and giving equity, and they're attacking the most vulnerable in our society. Right? The elderly, the marginalized women, disabled women, people with mental health problems, homeless people, that's who they're after. We have to do something at a grassroots level down here to push back against this and say that we do not agree with this, that this is not right. Right? And ask for account. Where are you getting your money from? Who's paying you? Who's informing you to do this? Right, to the marginalized, instead of giving them money to care for people. And look at the social roots or the social causes of what we're seeing there. But we're not in Canada. We're offering death. And this is meant to go worldwide. And Canada's one of the top for people that are killing themselves with euthanasia. Right? And so if we're conscious beings, we need to also take a good hard look at this technocratic healthcare system that is really an industry, a corporation, and that's what I believe is running these MAIDHouses, are corporate entities, right, that are profiting off the death of people because they're getting money to push this agenda and normalize it, which makes more people go along with it. And then they're also making money on harvesting organs. As I said, I can't prove any of this, but as I say, having worked in the system and met the people that took over in 2015, it was, in my area, it was 2015. It was probably 2005 when I really saw it down in the Toronto area. So it's been captured for 20 some odd years, really captured. I'm sure the little tentacles were going in. So that brings us back of growing our strength and not believing what we're seeing out there about who we are. And that means looking at the programs that are inside us, right? And understanding who we are, going inside and understanding ourselves and not seeing us at this machine. That's not who we are. And not have them sell death to you, because marketing and grabbing your perception and making you believe that the herd is doing that will stampede you down that ramp. Right? Without your conscious awareness doesn't mean you're foolish, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. You're actually behaving the way that you were designed. Nefarious people, a death cult, have captured that, right? And are profiting hugely off of it. And we need to become aware of the dark and also the light of who we are. And that our conscious awareness has the ability to create the reality and the environment that we in. And we need to consciously create this new world, this parallel world that moves away from this technocratic, fascistic, like fascism type. We don't want that. Humans don't live like that's not who humans are. This system is a harvest system. They're harvesting energy off you, which energy can be your money, it can be your spirit, it can be, that is what this, and then there's this parallel system where we have to get back to the understanding and grow who we are, right? And how to revitalize and come alive and bring our conscious awareness more to bear and into being, right? And that gives us more strength to stand up, because in my mind, this is the last I'll say. This is, as Greg Braden said, a battle between good and evil. And there's two ways you can go, right? You have free will. You can choose what you want. I'm choosing to believe like Einstein did, that everything is a miracle and a mystery, right? And I want to understand more of it, and I want to bring more of my human consciousness to bear, right? To have an impact, even if it's just for a moment, right? To bringing positive energy in. Not that I don't see the dark, I do, right? But I want to help people to understand that they're not the machine. They are this divine spirit, this spark, right? That is at one with everything when we pass on. To not be afraid and to not let fear guide you, right? Understand and become more aware of who you are. And that's, as I said, go on and on. So that's a biggie. Mind control, MAID houses, and near-death experiences. Ciao for today.